This wonderful
don't think
speaker.
Christianity is a molestation of Judaism, and the origins of it are pretty well understood if you read the book Caesar's Messiah, or if you watch the documentary. It's a quasi-Abrahamic religion. It actually serves the interests of the royals of Europe and of all the oligarchs of Europe going back 2,000 years. It's the divine right of kings. And how dare these people, take a ride on our backs and our faith and pervert it for the sake of, royal oligarchical,
Sure.
supremacy over the
So,
masses.
okay. So, because we're not here to convince anybody of one particular thing, like, I mean, not that we're not going to here to convince people, but like, we'll state our opinions and then leave it at that sort of thing.
No, but I hate
And
being accused of things because I don't believe
but
that.
I agree.
I don't have the same take on Christianity as being an Abrahamic religion. I see it as
I agree where you're coming
the
from.
perversion of the Jewish faith.
I agree. That makes sense to me because, if you go through it historically. So you've had an opinion there. I don't want to summarize your opinion. That would be wrong. Claire.
Hello.
How long, by the way, Dust, how long do you want this particular talk to go? So
It's invoking a lot of thought and a lot of dialogue. We should just push it until it becomes monotonous, or just.
I'm good with that. I just thought I wasn't sure if you're eager to get to the next topic, but I'm happy with it.
I'm happy to definitely say this is definitely an extremely important topic. I'd like I'd like the new speakers, by the way. Yeah. Could they also give their definition of what they think nationalism, please, in it as brief as possible before they interject this debate with their opinions and thoughts?
Sure. So, Claire, go on. Why don't you give your idea of nationalism before you say your opinion, please?
Nationalism is government in the national interest. So I don't see why anyone would argue with this definition, because we all live under governments, and if we're ever expected to make any sacrifices for our society, we would be assured if the government says it's for the greater good, the long-term national interest, and all that sort of thing. And we know that Trump is a nationalist, and that is heresy to liberals, and that is why they want to jail him and kill him and, besmirch his reputation, because he dared to say the N-word. He said, why can't I be a nationalist? I mean, naively, he actually asked that. And that, I think, is what attracted all this odium on himself. He's now accused of being anti-Semitic and racist, but actually he has a lot of non-white supporters who don't agree with immigration. And I think we have to accept that people don't want to feel swamped by any other group. It doesn't mean they're racist, but they're just feeling a little uneasy. And my recent study of Pakistani history is that Muslims kill other Muslims too. The Muhajirs were massacred by the Pashtuns in Karachi not that long ago. So, people just, even of the same religion and the same race, people don't like it. I think we can all imagine how we would feel if all our family descended on our homes and decided never to go. I think we would end up wanting to kill them. So, this is
all our families. I didn't understand that last bit. What do you mean?
I'm saying if we could imagine all members of our family just descending on our homes and refusing to leave.
And you're saying this is linked to nationalism?
Yes, I'm saying people who are nervous about immigration, who don't like it, don't like being told that they're racist just for complaining about it, but this is the narrative. No national leader is allowed to even make an argument in favor of nationalism without being accused of being Hitler or Mussolini or any of the bad guys that World War II was about.
So that's just the family
argument. Yeah, just conflating nationalism with Nazism is a straw man argument.
Yes.
But I just want to check. So your family idea, what you're saying is the nation is a family, and if people from other family or your extended family turned up and refused to leave, that's equivalent of the immigration problem, where unwanted people are coming. Is that what you're saying, Claire? I'm trying to understand the metaphor.
More or less, I'm saying that even if the people you're supposed to like, the family, kin, blood, if they all descended on you in large numbers and refused to leave, you'd end up wanting to kill them, even if, as you know, that they're your kin and your blood relations, etc., etc. I mean, it's not that unusual for family members to kill each other. In fact, it probably happens more often. I mean, I think if we end up being murdered, we're more likely to be killed by somebody we know. Usually, somebody
your lover. Usually, actually,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
True,
So the sort of pretend fear of foreigners is sort of maybe exaggerated. But I mean, basically, people just want to feel that the government is looking after them, and a lot of people in the West and in other countries, they don't think their government is doing the right thing. So they don't feel that their government is governing in the national interest. They suspect their ruling classes to be incompetent and corrupt and never even think about governing in their national interest. And I suspect a lot of Americans feel that way about the Biden administration. They believe that the election was stolen, and not for good reasons. And there's this sense of increasing chaos, confusion, and distrust of their government, whom voters feel do not govern in their national interest. And even this very anodyne, very weak definition of nationalism is not even being supported, because I don't think any country is even allowed to suggest anything about nationalism, to even talk about it, even in the most non-racist way, because that is not what the American government, well, that's not what Washington wants. It wants all its vassal states, the NATO member states, to just keep obeying its orders and to keep taking immigrants. And Sam, Israelis are complaining too, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've been forced to take Ukrainians who were meaner than Nazis to them.
Direct descendants of the Nazis. Yeah, they were complicit with the Nazis and. Yeah, so it's like there's a prime directive that we can't ignore of these overlords that are corporatists. And
can we make it so we go round in a circle so everybody keeps having turns? So
yeah, sure.
I don't know if you're seeing the same circle as I am. So it'd be me, then Dus, then Josh, then back to you, Sam, then Claire, and then and we'll keep going until everybody, as long as everybody's happy
until we start repeating ourselves.
Yeah. So I mean, are you done with your? We're trying to go maximum 5 minutes at a time.
I think I've taken up my 5 minutes. Thank you, but that's all I wanted to say about nationalism. It's not really allowed.
Sure. And I'm going to be really quick. I'm aiming to be about 1 minute. Because so my points are, so earlier on Dus said we can't enforce rules on everybody. That's nationalism, but actually we do that all the time. It's called the law. Okay, so you can get together, like, what do you as a community really value? That's also called democracy, and let's enforce those laws. If you don't like homosexuality, then those can be your rules. Looks like a lot of people are upset with it. A lot of people are not upset with it. We've got to have some level of democracy. And if that, and there, you might say, why pick on homosexuality? First of all, I think as a Muslim, and my particular kind of Muslim, we're called Ahmadi Muslims, we say love for all, hatred for none. But we do say at the same time, some things are unhealthy for society, like just in terms of reproduction, it doesn't work, obviously. But also, you can have all sorts of other issues with homosexual behavior, which, but anyway, that was just a topic you pointed out, Dus, so that's why I'm mentioning it. There can be all sorts of reasons and practical reasons that we can choose one law or the other. And so that's one thing. I think that was it, really. I can't remember the other point I was going to make. So that's it.
You want me to go? Yeah. Anything more to add about nationalism?
and the points that have been brought up.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, no, anything more. Yeah, I mean, I think that, I certainly think that the irony is about the royal family, what the gentleman brought up about having associations with the Freemasons is kind of ironic, because the royal family are actually pretty nationalistic. They are, I mean, imperialist as well, to be fair.
Imperialist. I'd rather go for the imperialist before the nationalist.
Well, yeah, imperialist before nationalist, but still I mean, a few British, or at least few English nationalists would want to abolish the monarch. Even though I put myself do, I'm, as a, I believe in the sovereignty of our country, but it certainly is not achieved through having a monarch. I'm a Republican, and I believe that a head of state should be elected. It should not be hereditary. You don't get a good job because your dad was in a good job or your mother was in a good job. Much as I believe in the family unit and the cohesion of a family unit, I don't think that you should get your you should advance through life because of patronage. You do it because of your own achievements. In fairness, that will be in part due to your parents' achievements and their efforts to help you accomplish your achievements. So it's not quite as clear cut as all that, but certainly you don't just get bestowed with the title because the person who gave birth to you had the same title. I mean, that's just nonsense. I'm sorry, whichever rational way you want to cut it. But anyway, the point about it is, might want to pick that up. The point about it is, that the royal family are definitely a facet of nationalism. They're not an anomaly, or they're not.
They're an institution.
Sorry?
They're an institution. They symbolize the British culture and British pride, and the British cling on to it and as a form of tradition. But I think there's a growing movement in Britain of people like yourself that would identify themselves as being Republican and anti-royalist, or not. The royal family is losing its popularity and its admiration, its admirability. It's not. They're no longer admirable. With all the sordid things that have been,
Be succinct when it's someone else's.
But as I say, in relation to your point again, the monarch is, she is the Queen of England, and while I don't think she is personally nationalistic, I do certainly think the royal family have a history of being somewhat prejudicial and somewhat nationalistic. If we take, for example, the alienation that Diana suffered because she married an Egyptian, was going
politics.
But they're not ceremonial. They're not ceremonial. They do actually wield a lot of power.
It was undermining the whole royal family by the way she was behaving, and well.
Shall we just try to remember
the way she was?
Don't get into a debate. Let them make a sentence.
Go on. Continue. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So, Josh, when you're done, then Dust, and then we'll just keep going around. Otherwise, I'm not sure it'll get a bit shouty. I think. Not that.
I think
that's okay. I don't mind.
We've just heard some great thoughts and opinions from everyone here. So I'd just like to show the contradictions that have been displayed so far, and the truth of what nationalism actually means to one of our speakers already, which is that Trump's allowed to overrule the laws of a land because he's nationalistic.
No, he isn't. He's been targeted. He's been
Yeah, you've made that.
And you agree because you're a leftist.
You've made that statement. But there are laws. It doesn't matter if you're left or right or an alien or a stone orbiting the planet Earth. There are laws in America, and those laws clearly I'm not going to keep interrupted. You've made your statement, and you can come back when it's your time. But so there are laws, whether you're right wing, and those. Let's not forget the president, the senator of Georgia, is a Republican who recorded the conversation of Trump begging him to find 16,000 votes to cheat, and so that Trump could get elected. And Trump decided that the only solution to losing was to do an insurrection, and that's done under nationalism. He thinks it's so important, so linked to God, so linked to this Abrahamic dictatorship, that the idea that any rules written on this planet applying to him and his nationalistic fever is abhorrent to him. And he's now conducted himself accordingly. He's now been tried for an insurrection and deliberately undermining a democracy. There was fraud nearly at the ballot box, but it's recorded as by a Republican senator. It was Trump begging him to do that.
And, what?
Sorry, I haven't finished yet.
Yeah,
you will have time to respond.
It's taking forever. We're talking about nationalism. There's no need. We don't have to litigate the whole thing.
Your time is definitely appreciated, but if you could just hold on to that youthful passion you're presenting, and your turn will come accordingly much quicker, rather than wasting time having to lay that out, repeat the rules again. And let's not forget this idea of immigration, which is a nationalist a tool of spreading hatred and violence amongst what they regard as the right people. Immigration only happens because of Western policies to bomb, impoverish, and commit wars in other countries. The only reason you want to leave your country is either to go on holiday or because your home's been bombed by an Abrahamic missile coming from America. They don't just randomly get up, right, I'm off to England. Right,
America doesn't have a religion.
And they don't wake up and just go, right, I'm off to go to another country. No, unless you're going on holiday. The reason why you leave your home is because the Abrahamic crusades, which are constantly I got 1 minute left, which constantly perspire through our history. That's why immigration happens, because of the horrific poverty being made by these wars of repression and Abrahamic delight. And this is all done under the flag of nationalism. We are the right people. And this one idea of being the perfect image, anything that diverges from that is seen as a criminal act, and the punishment is extermination. That's how Hitler viewed that's why the Muslims joined. There was an SS division of Muslims, let's not forget. That's because they agreed with his Abrahamic crusade across Europe. And there I finish. So next speaker is
Sam.
Sam.
Or is he left?
No, Sam. Yeah, go for it,
Sam.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I have a unique perspective because I grew up both American and Israeli, and I have half my upbringing in the United States, and the rest of my the second half of my life I returned to Israel. So I have a multi-sided perspective on what you're talking about. As far as Trump, having grown up in New York and in Trump's hometown, and he grew up in Queens, I grew up in Brooklyn. That's where he's from. Vilifying Trump and just throwing all these wild accusations against him, like the all the litigation and the lawfare and the criminal lawsuits against him, and as far as him looking to manufacture votes, I think that's a fraudulent and false claim being made against him.
It was recorded by a Republican senator. That is recorded. It's not a false claim.
Well, you had your time there, Dusty.
No, we're allowed to make statements.
I'm not looking for a back and forth with you. I'm just responding.
We're allowed to make statements.
We said we would go around.
I can easily say that you made false statements. Just as much as you can say I made false statements. You had your time. I'm responding to what you said. All right. So the thing is, with the criminal litigations and the accusations being made against Trump, I see it as clearly a form of what he called, and I agree with it, election meddling to get him off of the ballot, okay, for the 2024 election. And the people in America right now that voted for Biden are having voters' remorse. They're disgusted with themselves. They're disgusted with Biden. They're disgusted with America. Biden is a phenomenon of corrupt American politics, and he's a career politician, a corrupt career politician in America. And his whole administration is the leftovers from the Obama administration. And they are implants. And I'd say they're the implants of the oligarchical class, being at one of the roots of evil at the top of the pyramid, being your royal family over there in Britain, with their still lust for imperial conquest by means of subterfuge, and by means of mind control, and by means of social engineering, and by means of wokeism, and by means of globalism, and by means of perverting all that is good and holy. They are satanic and they are sick people. Your Prince Philip himself said before he died he wished to come back as a virus, and he was not being what's the word you Brits use?
Facetious?
No, not facetious. Cheeky. He wasn't being cheeky about it. He meant it. He wanted to come back as a deadly virus to kill off the masses and as many people as possible. That's what he said he wanted to come back as. And you have the origins of are we on Facebook? So you have
we're on Twitter and YouTube.
Okay, YouTube. Okay, so I can't. I'll get your channel. I'll get your channel censored.
So you're saying nationalism is the cure?
No. Nationalism is only part of the response to globalism, wokeism, and New Age Marxism, nihilism, atheism, progressivism, and absolute degeneracy. Okay, it's absolute degeneracy. The world is turning against it now. And a majority of the world's population has become fully awakened and open-minded, and their eyes are open to it because they see
the world is woke.
They see the true form of being awake to the lies and to the mind control and the conditioning. When you try to get people's children into satanic worship and in the guise of the LGBTQ agenda, being trying to initiate children into Satanism for the sake of LGBTQ, that is where you really wake up the masses. Okay, that's where you wake up all the traditionalists from the Middle East, the traditionalists in Asia, in Africa. The whole world is turning against the West for this reason, this social issue. And at the top of the pyramid is the Freemasonic agenda, the British Freemasons, the American Freemasons, and you have Obama and Biden being servants of the British. And the LaRouche pack, Lyndon LaRouche made the clear evidence of these people being British agents. They're British agents.
Cool. So we'll wind up. We've done 5 minutes. I think we are going to wind up soon. So, Claire, what do you want to say? I've got like a 1 minute thing to say after that, and then I'm done, sort of thing.
After Claire's finished her 5 minutes, we should all have 1 minute. 1 minute to conclude.
I think that's great. Yeah, good idea.
If everyone's happy with that.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah. Because
that's fine. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So we have 5 minutes, Claire. I'm gonna do a 1 minute round each. Go for it, Claire.
I think Doss is deliberately weaving a false narrative by saying that American foreign policy is something to do with Abrahamism. As we all know, America doesn't have an official religion, so no way can you say that whatever the Americans are doing is because God told them to do that. What is the official religion of America anyway? So I don't know what you're on about. I mean, they call it neoconservatism. So neoconservatism is nothing to do with God.
Sorry, Josh wants to make a statement quickly.
Sorry,
Go
just,
on a little one,
just
Josh.
to cut across you. I don't think they do have an official religion per se, officially, but de facto, we mustn't forget that their motto is "In God We Trust." Of course, I don't disagree with the sentiment of that necessarily. I'm just saying, that is one of their mottos. So,
statement made.
Religion does play a bit of a role, I would say.
Back to Claire.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing with me that America doesn't have an official religion. They may say all kinds of pious things about "In God We Trust" on their dollar bills, but their policy is nothing to do with God. But let me inform you that George Washington, in his farewell speech, said something about religion, and he says, "Observe good faith and justice towards all. Nations cultivate peace and observe good faith and justice towards all nations, cultivate peace and harmony with all. Religion and morality enjoin this conduct. And can it be that good policy does not equally enjoin it?" So we see that Washington is talking about religion, but he can't be talking about Christianity, because Christianity has nothing to say about foreign policy. It is a scripture that is without any guidance. That's why the Christians had to culturally appropriate the Old Testament and use it, and because all the laws of Judaism are in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, i.e. the Torah, i.e. the first 5 books of the Old Testament. So there's nothing in the New Testament that has any rules at all, and the Christians had to use the Jewish scripture in order to get any kind of rules at all. And now America, the founding fathers having separated the church from their state, have no official religion. So basically they just make up crap as they go along. What they call neoconservatism is American imperialism. And if they have a global empire, you have to expect them to move people around, to move goods and services around, and to move people around, as the Spanish did when they trafficked in slaves, as the British did when they trafficked in slaves. So what we're complaining about as regards immigration is basically America treating the rest of the West as an economic zone and just saying, Jews, you've got to take these Ukrainians. Oh, the British, you've got to take these Ukrainians. Germans, you've got to take these Ukrainians. Because basically all these countries are the 51st state of America, but they don't know it because they're supposed to think that their government and their leaders care about them, but actually they don't. And that is my point. They're not governing in a national interest, and the people don't know what the hell their governments are doing. But they can't actually make their parliaments accountable or Congress accountable, because they don't have any basis to do that. Because if you call yourself Christian, Christianity doesn't say anything about foreign policy, because Jesus never became king before he was executed and crucified. So basically Christianity is basically a religion that says shut up or we'll burn you at the stake, and and that's it. And now basically what the church does is obey whatever the government says. So if it's gay marriage and transgenderism and whatever kind of rubbish they cook up, that's what the church has to support. And that explains the corruption of the West. So all the problems that is being caused by America is to do with the fact that America doesn't have an official religion, not because it has. So I've finished my point. Thank you for giving me the time to make it.
Wonderful. Yeah. Right, now everyone has a minute.
Yeah, cool.
Conclusion.
So I would just,
conclusion.
I think, my conclusion is nationalism doesn't mean you can't be part of a better world. Part of national self-interest is take care of the rest of the world as well. Because if you have a terrible world, you're not going to survive in the world in which you exist. So I don't think there has to be this false dichotomy of nation versus internationalism. You can have both. That's it.
All right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'll say my last remarks as far as nationalism is concerned. Nationalism and culture go hand in hand. Once you take nationalism away and you create this gray matter of an internationalist, globalist world, then you dilute culture. And if for the sake of the greater good or for the sake of equity, and that's what you have in America. That's what I experienced firsthand, is that you have people, the Brits and the Europeans always like to snub their nose at Americans and tell them they have no culture. Well, it's because America is the engine of globalism. It was used by the imperialist British and the bankers, the central banker class of both a old world Europe and old world Britain to basically conquer the world. And once you and the objective of the oligarchical class is to have peasants and serfs. They don't want nationalism, and they don't want culture.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, would you like to have your minutes?
Yeah, the problem is, though, a lot of nationalist movements, they co-opt those things you just listed, particularly Scottish nationalism. I think that, I'd say that, Israeli nationalism, I think it's kind of ambivalent about those things, because it's always eager to prove how culturally, well, not always, but there are certain Zionists who like to prove how culturally superior they are by embracing things like wokeism and transgenderism. I mean, and sort of aver how liberal they are compared to their opponents further eastward.
Not me. That's not me.
No, I ain't saying it's you, mate.
But I know the types you're talking about. Yeah.
Sorry.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you regarding that.
Fair enough. Okay, so I just gave you 2 examples off the top of my head.
10 seconds.
About examples of how nationalism co-opts those things that you say do not go hand, because I know you said what goes in hand, but you also said what does it? What is a threat?
Oh, let just Josh say his bit.
Yeah. You need to clear about nationalism. Is it good or bad?
Nationalism. Yeah, go on, mate.
No. We're not.
No, we just want to do. We want to wind this up.
We're not. This is not debate now. We've moved on.
Okay.
Let the viewers make up their own decision of what they've heard. But go on, Josh. You just finish off your bit because you're
last
interrupted.
Sentence, please.
Like anything, nationalism can hijack any morally degrading value. Just as
just as every forms of control in the hands of controllers and the power brokers, everything can be abused. Religion, nationalism, everything can be abused.
Okay, Sam, so we're just winding this up anyway.
You just repeat the point that was already made. I don't mind, but
anyway,
the point was made. Okay, my minute starts now. Basically, nationalism is used by Hitler, by Trump, nation states to conduct horrible things like murdering gay people in concentration camps, because when you don't like an evolved human being, and there always will be in society different people other than yourself, the only solution is to get rid of them, expunge and use chemicals, abuse them, shout at them, and make them disappear from your view, which has been the solution for most of the nationalists. It's their solution for most of their disagreements with this planet that we all live on together. Nationalism is, as I said, is Trump, who is a profound oligarch, the absolute representation of that little group of misfits. And nationalism, there's nothing good ever to happen from nationalism, but there is good coming from human beings, and to celebrate what it means to be human, no matter the colour or religion or ideology. Thank you. Are we done? Has everyone had their
Claire, you want to do 1 minute?
I'll have my go.
Yeah, Claire.
Go for it.
So it is disingenuous of us to equate nationalism with Nazism and extermination of gays and Jews, and it is typical. It's a typical leftist trope. But I'm saying again that nationalism is government in the national interest, and therefore we should, as we all live under governments, we would like the government to govern in the national interest, and therefore it is in the national interest to have a religion that promotes good domestic and foreign relations, and the Quran has a lot of suggestions and recommendations about how to do domestic and foreign policy better. I know you will be always rejecting the Abrahamic God because it is a very useful way of making people obey the laws, the eternal and universal laws from one generation to another, and that would be the practice of marriage, which I guess a lot of people aren't interested in these days.
Right.
Great.
That was
wow,
fantastic.
Wind up, Will. I mean, wind up.
Fantastic.
Dust.
Very beautiful. Everyone had their points and were very elegant and polite. And I believe that everyone got their ideas across. And that is how a good debate happens, even though we all, I think, well, not all, but some of us fundamentally disagree with what's been said. But nevertheless, Khalid has offered this wonderful platform for these views to be shared and ideas to be communicated. So thank you, Khalid.
Well, thank
and everybody
you
who's helped.
Yeah, that was great.
And contributed.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to put a link to, we're going to do another topic now. Essentially why relationships are not working in the West. I think it's an incredibly important topic.
Well, I have a lot of input in this one.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to the YouTube video now, and then I'm going to close this stream. And then when you're on that stream, I'll also put an invite link to if you want to be on camera as well. So there is the link to the next discussion. It's called, I've entitled it to make it more interesting for everybody, like anybody just coming along it. 70% of relationships fail. Here's why. So it's essentially why relationships fail in the West. So so I'm going to close this one. Bye.
No. Before you go,
Go on. Something else to say? Go on. Yeah.
Can I just say, can we make the next subject, the next topic, 30 minutes long? That means 5 minutes each. And then 1 minute. So
I mean, we'll see who turns up, but yeah.
Oh yeah. According to if everyone turns up, but we should be quite strict.
Let's aim for half an hour. Okay, fair enough. Otherwise, we'll be here partying all night, talking to each other.
Exactly. Excellent.
All right. Okay, we're going now. Bye.
Bye. Happy?